world has been arguing about it.
Get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by.
Everybody stop it! Whoa! Fury!
Welcome back to Fantasy Fights. This time we're going to take a look at the heavyweight champions of the world. Hopefully you watched the first part. This is part 2. Before we get going, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Really helps the channel out. We're starting in 1937 and going to 2025. We're going to look at every champion. And as I said, in part 1, we went from 1882 to 1937. Sit back. Hope you enjoy it. In 1937, Joe Louis won the heavyweight championship of the world, defeating James J. Braddock. In the negotiations leading up to the fight, Braddock said that Joe Louis would have to concede 10% of all his income over fights over the next 10 years to Braddock in order for Braddock to sign the contract. Supposedly, he made about $150,000 signing that contract on Joe Louis's future earnings. Sweet deal. We could talk forever on Joe Louis. He held the heavyweight title longer than any fighter in history. 12 years. 1949 he retired. And he defeated Max Schmeling, Jack Sharkey, Primo Carnero, Max Baer, James Braddock. Every previous champion in the 30s he defeated. Actually, he knocked him out. So we are going to show you his one loss before his first retirement, and that was his, I believe it was a late round knockout against Max Schmeling. I don't remember the round. I want to say round 12, but I could be wrong. Anyway, we've got that clip for you. We've also got the first Schmeling fight. I'm sorry, the second Schmeling fight, the first round knockout of Max Schmeling by Joe Louis, the revenge match. And we've got a lot of other clips we're going to show you. Stay tuned. I usually don't show an entire clip of a fight, but this Max Schmeling-Joe Louis fight was one of the most historic fights in 1938, the return match between the two in boxing history. If not number one, it's right up there. Schmeling was supposedly representing Nazi Germany and had been the only man to defeat Joe Louis. And Joe Louis said, "I won't be champion until I defeat Max Schmeling." And this is one of the classic fights, and this is pretty much the entire round. Hope you enjoy. Following Joe Louis's retirement in 1949, Ezra Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott are going to emerge, two African Americans, as the top heavyweights in the world. Things had really changed prior to 1937 when Louis won the title to 1951. African American fighters, black fighters, are going to be given opportunities to fight for the championship. Joe Louis set the precedent for that because of his long tenure as champion. Charles and Walcott are going to fight, and they're going to fight several times. In 49, Ezra Charles is going to win the heavyweight championship of the world. What really solidified Ezra Charles as the heavyweight champion is Joe Louis came out of retirement and Charles defeated him in a 15-round decision. So there was no doubt about who the heavyweight champion was in 1949. Walcott and Ezra Charles are going to go at it for the third time in 1951. Jersey Joe Walcott is going to knock out Ezra Charles this time and become the new heavyweight champion of the world. Now, if you'll recall, Walcott in 47 and 48 had fought Joe Louis, and a lot of people felt like Jersey Joe had beaten Joe Louis in their first fight. In their rematch, Jersey Joe was knocked out by Joe Louis. But Walcott finally gets his acclaim and becomes the heavyweight champion of the world in 1951. In 1952, Rocky Marciano, a young heavyweight from Brockton, Massachusetts, is going to come along and become one of the more popular heavyweight champions in history. He's going to defeat Jersey Joe Walcott in his famous 13th round knockout to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Marciano is going to dominate the division. And in 1955, he retires as the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. Following Rocky Marciano's retirement, Floyd Patterson and Archie Moore are going to meet for the heavyweight championship of the world. Patterson's 21, Archie Moore's 39, I believe. Quite an age discrepancy. Patterson's going to win the fight in a 5th-round knockout and become the new heavyweight champion of the world. He was an Olympic gold medalist in the middleweight division. He loses in 1959 to Ingemar Johansson of Sweden. Here he is going down and being knocked out. Johansson was undefeated, very popular fighter. His rise to fame actually was his 1st-round knockout over Eddie Mason in Sweden, which made him the top contender. Patterson's going to do something that nobody else had ever done. He is going to regain the heavyweight title in the rematch with Ingemar Johansson. And Patterson dominates the fight. And there he is putting Johansson down. And he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world for the 2nd time. They have a rematch. Patterson wins that as well. In 1962, Patterson finally decides to meet the top contender, Sonny Liston. Liston's one of the few contenders or challengers for the heavyweight title to actually be favored going into the fight. Not only was he favored, he was heavily favored. He had been the top contender for quite a period of time, 1960 and 61, while Patterson and Johansson were going at it. He had pretty much cleaned up the heavyweight division. He was one of the most physical fighters, heavyweights, up until that period. As you can see, he's having a little trouble with Patterson. This is the 1st round. He knocks him out in the 1st round, and then in the rematch in 1963, Liston disposes him again in the 1st round. Now, the problem with Liston is he was controlled by the mob. He couldn't even fight in the state of New York. In 1964, Sonny Liston is going to defend his title against the top contender named Cassius Clay. He is from Louisville, Kentucky, and won a gold medal in the Olympic Games. And he drew a lot of attention to the fight. Former Olympic gold medalist, tremendous fighter, and took the Muslim name Muhammad Ali. And he is going to be a 7-1 underdog. He's going to outbox Liston. Liston had hurt his shoulder earlier in training, and he's going to be stuck in his corner with his shoulder separation, and Ali is the new heavyweight champion of the world. Now, in the rematch, which took place, was originally scheduled to take place in Boston. It was moved around to a roller skating rink in Lewiston, Maine. Here they are in action. This is one of the most controversial fights in boxing history. Jersey Joe Walcott was the referee of this fight. And what you need to look at is watch Liston rolling around on the canvas. Now, there's several different views of this fight. There he is. He went down. Now, most fights films have him getting straight up off one knee. But in reality, this film shows there he is, and there he goes with his tumble. And you can see he is coherent as can be. And he was down. There was no count. Jersey Joe Walcott is getting information from Nat Fletcher, the editor of Ring Magazine, saying that Liston was down 10 seconds. And you can see they resume fighting. Then Walcott comes in and says the fight's over. Total chaos. Liston threw the fight. If you disagree with me, I'm fine with that. Have no problem with it. But it was one of the most controversial fights in boxing history. And Liston was controlled by the mob. Ali was controlled basically by the black Muslims. Malcolm X had been assassinated three months earlier. Elijah Muhammad was the leader of the Islamic movement. So a lot of different shady things that went on. All right, let's look back at Ali's reign as champion. When he signed a rematch clause with Sonny Liston in 1965, the WBA stripped him of his title. They gave the belt to the winner of the Ernie Terrell-Eddie Mason fight, which Ernie Terrell won. A unification fight occurred in 1967 between Ali and Terrell. Ali won a 15-round decision. Terrell was never a serious contender, or he was a serious contender, but he was never really recognized as a heavyweight champion. In 1967, Ali refused to go into the military, and he was stripped of his title again by the WBA. The WBA had an 8-man tournament, and the winner of that 8-man tournament was Jimmy Ellis, who defeated Jerry Corey in 1968. The state of New York recognized Joe Frazier, who defeated Buster Mathis in the 11th round, as their champion. Ring Magazine never lost recognition of Muhammad Ali because they felt like the title should be won and lost in the ring, which most observers felt. So 68, 69, 70, there's a lot of chaos. 3 different people claiming to be the heavyweight champion. In 1970, Muhammad Ali officially retired, so the Ring Magazine no longer recognized him as champion. Jimmy Ellis, the WBA champion, fought the New York State champion, Joe Frazier, for the heavyweight championship in Madison Square Garden. Joe Frazier knocked out Ellis and was recognized as the heavyweight champion. Muhammad Ali soon came out of retirement in March of 1971 and created the biggest super fight of the century, whatever you want to call it. It was a big one. 2 undefeated heavyweights went at it in Madison Square Garden. Joe Frazier won a 15-round decision over Muhammad Ali and became recognized universally as the heavyweight champion of the world. The heavyweight division in 1970s is at its peak. And a man who really is going to lead to that, you've got Frazier and you got Ali, and now you're going to have a man, George Foreman, who is going to dominate the division. And he fights Joe Frazier for the heavyweight championship in 1973 and knocks him out in 2 rounds. So now you have an undefeated Olympic champion as a heavyweight champion. Muhammad Ali re-enters the picture after his rematch with Joe Frazier. He wins a 12-round decision, and then he defeats George Foreman in the 8th round to regain the heavyweight championship of the world. After regaining the title, Ali meets Ken Norton for the 3rd time in 1976 and wins a highly disputed decision. The WBC organization demands that Ali fight Norton a 4th time. Ali refuses to do that, so they strip him of the title, and Ken Norton fights Jimmy Young for the WBC championship, and Ken Norton is the title holder. So now you've got a break between the WBA and the WBC as far as world organizations and who they recognize. Now you have the WBA and the WBC recognizing different fighters as heavyweight champions. Norton goes on and meets Larry Holmes in 1978 in one of the classic fights of all time. I've got it here for you. Now, to say that these 2 men shouldn't fight or be heavyweight champions is hard to believe. Ali decides to fight a man named Leon Spinks out of the Olympics with only 9 professional fights to defend his title instead of taking on one of these guys. So you can see the reason why the WBC was a little upset with Ali. If you followed all my programming up to this point, you realize that some champions basically won the title and never fought, especially 40, 50 years ago. And hopefully you can also see why the 1970s was such a tremendous period in heavyweight history with the great fighters. Muhammad Ali goes on to face Leon Spinks and loses a 15-round decision. Spinks and Ali fight the return match, and the WBA recognizes Muhammad Ali the winner. The WBC recognizes Larry Holmes as a champion. Muhammad Ali retires following the Spinks fight, and the WBA is going to have a tournament and come up with a new champion. Muhammad Ali decides to come out of retirement, and he fights Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes wins the fight by knockout and is recognized as the linear heavyweight champion after defeating Muhammad Ali. So you could date all the fighting, all the heavyweight champions after Marciano's retirement, the man who beat the man. That is what we mean by the linear champion. And Larry Holmes was recognized as the linear champion. A third boxing organization comes in 1983, the IBF. So now you have three different world organizations, but the linear champion is Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes fights Michael Spinks in 1985. He loses a 15-round decision, and Michael Spinks is the linear heavyweight champion of the world. By 1985, Michael Spinks is the champion, but we have three different world organizations, the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC. Enter Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is the youngest heavyweight champion ever. He comes in, and he wants to be the linear champion. He gains all the belts, and then he goes after Michael Spinks in 1988 and knocks him out in the first round. To go one better, he even knocks out Larry Holmes, the ex-champion. So if there's any doubt about who the champion is, it's been answered. Mike Tyson is going to become one of the most popular fighters in the history of boxing, right up there with Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, all the greats of the past. This brings us to the end of part 2. Please stay tuned to part 3. It'll be coming out pretty soon. Please hit the like, comment, and share. And above all, please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks.